Good morning, pre-K. It's Tuesday and it's time to go over our sight word again. Our sight word is make. And today we're going to go over some words that rhyme with make, which is, I know, one of your favorite things to do. Since you all weren't here to help me think them up, I had to think them up by myself, but I bet you'll agree they're good ones. So, make, take. Make cake, make bake, make fake, make wake. Have you noticed that they all have the same ending as the word make? What changes is just the first letter. So that's how we make a rhyme. If I was going to try and rhyme these words, I might say, when I wake, I'm going to make a fake, I'm going to bake a cake that is fake and take it to my friend. So, all of those rhyme. Take, cake, bake, fake, wake. So, that's fun with our sight word. If you have some paper and a pencil at home, you can practice writing the word make and then do an illustration for me. If you keep all these things, we can put them inside your journal when we get back to our regular school times, and I still have all your journals, and we can put all kinds of fun stuff inside of them. So anything you're working on at home, save it so we can put it in your journal. Okay, now, Charlotte's Web, can you believe it? Chapter 7, all right, chapter 7. Do you remember how many chapters I told you were here? There are 12 chapters. We are on chapter 7. Only what? How many more chapters? 5 more chapters. Okay. Bad news. This is just a great chapter. You're going to like this, even though it's kind of scary. Wilbur liked Charlotte better and better each day. Her campaign against insects seemed sensible and useful, and hardly anyone around the farm had a good word to say for a fly. Flies spent their time pestering others. The cows hated them, the horses detested them, the sheep loathed them. Mr. and Mrs. Zuckerman were always complaining about them and putting up screens. Wilbur admired the way Charlotte managed. He was particularly glad that she always put her victim to sleep before eating it. "That's real thoughtful of you to do, Charlotte," he said. "Yes," she replied in her sweet musical voice. I always give them an anesthetic so they don't feel any pain. It's a little service I throw in." As the days went by, Wilbur grew and grew. He ate 3 big meals a day. He spent long hours lying on his side, half asleep, dreaming pleasant dreams. He enjoyed good health, and he gained a lot of weight. One afternoon, when Fern was sitting on her stool, the oldest sheep walked into the barn and stopped to pay a call on Wilbur. "Hello," she said. "Seems to me you're putting on weight." "Yes, I guess I am," replied Wilbur. "At my age, it's a good idea to keep growing." "Just the same, I don't envy you," said the old sheep. "You know why they're fattening you up, don't you?" "No," said Wilbur. "Well, I don't like to spread bad news," said the sheep. "But they're fattening you up because they're going to kill you, that's why." "They're going to what?" screamed Wilbur. Fern grew rigid on her stool. "Kill you, turn you into smoked bacon and ham," continued the old sheep. "Almost all young pigs get murdered by the farmer as soon as the real cold weather sets in. It's a regular conspiracy around here to kill you at Christmas time. Everybody's in on the plot. Lurvy, Zuckerman, even John Arable." "Mr. Arable," sobbed Wilbur, "Fern's father." certainly. When a pig is to be butchered, everybody helps. I'm an old sheep, and I see the same thing, same old business year after year. Mr. Arble arrives with his gun. Stop, screamed Wilbur. I don't want to die. Save me, somebody, save me. Fern was just about to jump up when a voice was heard. Be quiet, Wilbur, said Charlotte, who'd been listening to this awful conversation. I can't be quiet, screamed Wilbur, racing up and down. I don't want to be killed. I don't want to die. Is it true that what the old sheep says, Charlotte? Is it true they're coming to kill me when the cold weather comes? Well, said the spider, plucking thoughtfully at her web, the old sheep has been around this barn a long time, and she's seen many a spring pig come and go. If she says they plan to kill you, I'm sure it's true. It's also the dirtiest trick I've heard of. What people won't think of. Wilbur burst into tears. I don't want to die, he moaned. I want to stay alive right here in my comfortable manure pile with all my friends. I want to breathe the beautiful air and lie in the beautiful sun. You're certainly making a beautiful noise, snapped the old sheep. I don't want to die, screamed Wilbur, throwing himself to the ground. You shall not die, said Charlotte briskly. What? Really? Cried Wilbur. Who's going to save me? I am, said Charlotte. How? Asked Wilbur. That remains to be seen, but I'm going to save you, and I want you to quiet down immediately. You're carrying on in a childish way. Stop your crying. I can't stand hysterics. There you have the old sheep, and she's causing Wilbur to have quite the fit. He's crying pretty hard and running around, yelling. Okay. So, on Sunday morning, Mr. and Mrs. Arable and Fern were sitting at breakfast in the kitchen, and Avery had finished and was upstairs looking around for his toys. Did you know that Uncle Homer's goslings had hatched? Asked Fern. How many? Asked Mr. Arable. 7, replied Fern. There were 8 eggs, but 1 egg didn't hatch. And the goose told Templeton she didn't want it anymore, so he took it away. The goose did what? Said Mrs. Arable, gazing at her daughter with a very worried look. Told Templeton she didn't want the egg anymore, repeated Fern. Who's Templeton? Asked Miss Arable. Oh, he's the rat, replied Fern. None of us like him much. Who's us? Asked Mr. Arable. Oh, everybody in the barn cellar. Wilbur and the sheep and the lambs and the goose and the gander and the goslings and Charlotte and me. Charlotte? Said Mrs. Arable. Who's Charlotte? Oh, she's Wilbur's best friend. She's terribly clever. What does she look like? Asked Miss Arable. Well, said Fern thoughtfully, she has 8 legs. All spiders do, I guess. Charlotte is a spider, asked Fern's mother. Fern nodded. A big gray one. She has a web across the top of Wilbur's doorway. She catches flies and sucks their blood, and Wilbur adores her. Does he really? Said Mrs. Arable. Rather vaguely. She was staring at Fern with a very worried expression on her face. Oh, yes, Wilbur adores Charlotte, said Fern. Do you know what Charlotte said when the goslings were hatched? I haven't the faintest idea, said Mr. Arable. Tell us. Well, when the gosling stuck its head out from under the goose, I was sitting on my stool in the corner, and Charlotte was in her web, and she made a speech, and she said, I'm sure that every one of us here in the barn cellar will be gratified to learn that after 4 weeks of unremitting effort and patience on the part of the goose, she now has something to show for it. Don't you think that was a pleasant thing for her to say? Yes, I do, said Mrs. Arable. And now, Fern, it's time to get ready for Sunday school, and tell Avery to get ready, too. And this afternoon, you can tell me more about what goes on in Uncle Homer's barn. Aren't you spending quite a lot of time there? You go there almost every afternoon, don't you? I like it there, replied Fern. And she wiped her mouth and she ran upstairs. After she'd left, Mrs. Arable said, I'm worried about Fern. Did you hear the way she rambled on about the animals, pretending they talked? Her dad chuckled and said, maybe they do talk. I sometimes wonder. At any rate, don't worry about Fern. She's just got a lively imagination. Kids think they hear all sorts of things. Just the same, I do worry about her, replied Miss Arable. I think I shall ask Dr. Dorian about her the next time I see him. He loves Fern almost as much as we do. And I want him to know how oddly she's acting about that pig and everything. I don't think it's normal. You know perfectly well animals don't talk. Mr. Arable just grinned. Maybe our ears aren't as sharp as Fern's, he said. And we're going to stop there. What did you think about that? Do you think Charlotte's going to save Wilbur? Well, we're going to find out all about that, and in between all of Wilbur's worrying, Charlotte's going to do something amazing, and some very funny things are going to happen. So, I'll see you next time.